Okay, guys, I think that's most of you in. So welcome to another one of Hillsgreen's webinars. First of all, thanks for joining, giving up an hour of your time this afternoon. I hope come 3 o'clock this afternoon, you've all got a bit of value out of it and taken away a couple of snippets and learnings in terms of what you can implement within your own socials. So for those people that you don't know me, I'm Andy, I'm the CEO here at Hillsgreen, and I will be chairing today's session. So a bit of housekeeping, if you can just all make sure that you're on mute so we don't get any form of distractions. That said, we do like to try and keep these sessions quite interactive. So if you've got a burning question as we go, I will try and multitask and pick that up. We've also got a few polls that we've got set up that will just be good to sort of gauge feedback and interest in terms of where you're at when it comes to all things social. So as I said in one of my videos that I did in preparation for this call, when I first set up Hillsgreen 7 years ago, I would sit around many boardroom tables being told categorically that farmers are not online. They are not, let alone online, they're not on socials. You will not find them on Facebook. But as in our latest Marketing to Farmers report, we've got 68% of farmers that are actually logging on and checking their socials daily. So there's a great opportunity for brands, whether you're in agriculture looking to market and connect with farmers, or whether you're in another sector, but farmers or rural audiences are one of your key audiences that you're looking to connect with and generate leads or sales from. It's a place that you could be hanging out. So we want to do today's webinar. A lot of clients and prospects have been asking about how can we get more out of social. So I'm really pleased that today we've got Ed, who's our sales and marketing manager here at Hillsgreen, and Anna, who looks after paid social, organic social and email within our marketing team, and Joe Booth from Social Media Makes Sense. So just before we kick off, I'll just let them do some quick introductions. So I will start with you, Joe.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Hillsgreen, for having me today. And yeah, I'm excited to hear what the discussion's going to be and what everyone wants to know. Bit of background on myself. So I've been working in social media now I've had my agency for 10 years and I was doing it a few years before that, but I can't actually remember a time when I've not been it. And we do everything from campaign management, training, content creation, paid, you name it. If it's got the name social media in it, we do it for our clients. But I've also worked within forage technology who sell silage additive. So I've got a sort of agri-ish background from my experience with them. And I've also been working with a couple of other businesses in a consultancy role to support them, again, agri-related. And I work internally at the BBC as well. So I've got that kind of audience perspective. And I think the main thing to remember with anything we're going to discuss today is farmers are an audience, and our main aim is to speak to them and get them to do something at the end of it, like have a social experience with us and what that's going to be. So whether it's a TV viewer or a farmer, it doesn't really matter, or the principles are pretty much the same.
Perfect. Thanks, Joe. And Ed, you shouldn't need much introduction, but I'll give you one anyway.
So yeah, just whistle stop tour. Dairy farmer's son from Lancashire. Went and did a master's degree in marketing and an undergrad degree in marketing and AI. I spent a couple of years working at Farmers Guardian, working on the events at AgConnect, which I see some of my ex-colleagues here. Hi. And yeah, and I've spent a year working in the fantastic world of buying groups, and then came and joined Hillsgreen, which I've been here for about a year now. And I'm the sales and marketing manager, handle the marketing for the agency, and also do a lot in regards to the business development. So talking to a lot of clients around strategy, the pitching process, and pretty much everything digital marketing.
Perfect. And Anna.
Yeah, so I'm Anna. I'm one of the digital marketing managers here at Hillsgreen. Predominantly my role kind of expands across paid, social, email, and then organic, so quite a varied role. Been at Hillsgreen since 2019, so have been here, worked across a huge variety of agricultural clients. In terms of existing kind of organic clients that we're working across, so two of my clients are sort of dairy genetics company and a company that sells crop protection products. So yeah, that's me.
Brill, thank you. Well, to kick things off, we will start with a poll. So those people who have not used Google Meets to get to polls, in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a load of squares. If you click on that, you should be able to get to the polls. So I'm just going to launch the first one here. Why are you on social for your business? You know, there's a real variety of people that we got on this call. Those people that are in marketing, maybe as a consultant, those people that work within marketing teams, client side, or those people that are perhaps running businesses that are involved in the marketing, but definitely have an interest into it. But before you actually start doing social, we need to know why the hell we're doing it in the first place. So it's good to just get a feel for why take up the time and why invest in social media. So just give you a couple of 10 seconds to place your vote, you know, in terms of what is the main reason for being on social. So, okay, I think it's probably getting neck or neck. We're getting a good feel for what you guys are doing. So we've got 10 votes in terms of building a community, another 10 votes in terms of there to drive leads or sales, 4 votes around web traffic, 6 votes around our customer services reputation. So, Joe, why should we be on social? Why should you invest in social for your brand, your business?
Quite a big question. I would say the main thing is coming back to this, like, why do you want to be on social media? If you can't answer that, then actually you probably shouldn't be on social media. So we don't always encourage every single client to be on social media, which people find quite surprising. But if you can't answer your why, then you're posting for the sakes of posting, and actually you're not creating anything of quality or value to your customers or anybody else online. So if you know that you are interested in, let's say, building a community because you want that brand recognition, you want to build that trust, you want to build that camaraderie with your customers, then social media obviously lends itself to that, and it's the perfect platform to do that. So if you can answer the why, then the rest of it kind of follows, and that's why you should be on it. But for me, I think that the main reason to use social is to do that brand trust piece. I think if you can build that relationship with your customers, people buy into people. Okay, some people buy into brands, sure, and the bigger your brand is, the more likely you are to kind of have that reputation and affinity with consumers. But really, for most businesses, actually, the reason they pick one company over another is that reputation they've got one-on-one with somebody, and that needs to translate through your social media as well.
Yeah, and I think when we were catching up early in the week, you have to remind people that it is called social media.
Yeah, it's my absolute pet peeve is people come on social media and use it as the media part and not the social part. But to me, that just is nonsensical. You may as well put an ad in a newspaper or a magazine, and there's value in that, absolutely. But why go to the time and energy? And it is time consuming, and you do have to put some effort into this. If you're going to set up a Facebook page, a community, an Instagram, a TikTok, whatever it is, you are committing to a lot of time and resource. And if your only reason to do that is to go visit our website and buy our products, I can tell you now, you're wasting your time and energy, and you may as well put your money and resource into a print ad. Sorry, I get a bit passionate about this bit.
It's going to be a very passionate conversation today. And for those of you who haven't been one of these webinars before, it's definitely not death by PowerPoint. So, Anna, in that second point where a number of people have said the main reason that they're on social is for leads or sales, can we utilize organic social for leads and sales?
I think my kind of view on this is it's really important to understand where organic social fits within the kind of the wider marketing funnel. I think they can definitely contribute to leads and sales, that's for sure. But I think it comes more from, if you're utilizing your organic social, have a really strong community, when that person eventually wants to utilize your product, wants to buy your product or use your service, you are front of mind and you're the people that they think of. I think people who think they're going to see direct leads off the back of organic social probably will be quite disappointed in actually what they get versus the effort they need to put in. So I think, yes, it can support in leads and sales, but it should not be a platform or a channel which is used solely as a lead generation tool.
And I think this comes into conversations that we've been having recently at Hillsgreen in terms of where does organic sit. As a business, we've done soul searching, it seems so, over the last 7 years since I set up the business, but really getting clear on where we add value with clients. And we've distilled it into sort of 3 core areas. We've got brand, we've got performance marketing, and we've got the work that we do with influencers. And brand is so associated with organic social because it's very hard to give a tangible return on investment in terms of the investment in your brand. What are you generating in return compared to your performance marketing, where it might be paid social or paid search, and there's a lever that you are trying to pull that's going to generate a lead or a sale. So sitting organic social with the work we do on brand is far better than performance marketing. It is there at that awareness phase within the funnel, not necessarily the bottom of the funnel where people have decided that they want to take that leap to, get in contact or buy that product.
Yeah, 100%.
So we hear many conversations with marketing managers, directors of business around frustrations with social. And I'd like to come into that in a little bit more detail now. So there's another poll winging its way over to you at the minute. So what is your biggest frustration right now with social media? Is it that you've not getting enough engagement? Is it that it takes too much time? Is it that you don't know what to post? Actually, you can't show the value to the business of social. So there's probably loads of different factors, but these tend to be the most common ones that we hear when we're in conversation with clients. So if you'd just like to pop on and vote, I can see them coming in now. Okay, so we're getting a good spread, I think, when it comes to it, but the predominant frustration is not getting enough engagement. Then we've got followed by can't show value to the business, which potentially links in with this leads and sales conversation that we're talking about, followed by it takes too much time and some people just don't know what to post. So what do you say, Ed, in terms of when people say the biggest frustration with organic social is they're not getting enough engagement?
Rookie error. I think in my sort of experience when it comes to people who say that, because it's a bugbear a lot of people who I speak to do have, it's around what are you actually trying to do on it. And I don't know, it stems back to what we were saying, but a lot of the time, like Joe was saying, echoing it, a lot of people have gone to organic social because it's free advertising in essence. People think it's free, it's easy to do, and we can just keep going, and it's that low-hanging fruit. But then they just throw themselves at it and they don't connect with any sort of strategy. And I think that's the biggest reason why you're not getting enough engagement. And it's about really understanding, A, your personas of who you're marketing to, and then B, what do they actually value from social media? So guarantee you they don't want to be sold to every single day. They want to actually be entertained. They want to be they want to see stuff they find interesting. And don't get me wrong, they will be interested in some stuff you can post, but it's often not a direct sales message. And I think that really does tie into what we're saying around how it's a big brand piece, and you need to be really focusing on using organic social to drive that brand. But that doesn't mean it's separate to sales and leads, because brand does directly impact that.
Yeah, and I think if I think back to the 15 years or so I've been in digital, I remember starting out in my first digital marketing job in 2010, and the first thing I had to do was sign up to Twitter. So I've seen the changes in social over the last 15 years or so. And often, as these platforms were building, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, now TikTok, etc., they made it very easy for your content to be seen. You know, it was a figure that we would band out, you know, probably 10 years ago, that, you know, it's probably 10 to 15% of your audience would see your content. What we're seeing now is that is completely changing, and you're luckily if 2 to 3% of your organic audience is actually seeing your content. So, Joe, how are you helping clients actually make sure that we're producing content that is going to be seen?
So I think the key thing is education about the platforms themselves. So first of all, there is no conspiracy to block you being seen by your audience. Okay. So I get a lot of people going like, oh, they don't want us to be selling on here for free. No, they don't want you to be doing that. What they want you to be doing is building relationships with their audiences. And that comes back to their why. So one major thing I find with, and this can be quite highly experienced marketing people as well, is they forget that the platform is a business. So Facebook, Instagram, okay, the Meta business is a business, you know, X is a business, and their priorities are to get as many users as possible on their platform for as long as possible, having as much communication and activity as possible. If you tick one or all three, ideally all three of those boxes, you are immediately going to go up in the rankings and be favored by that platform. But what people are generally using it for is, we need to sell more widgets. Let's just put a link to our website and hope people buy. Well, it's not Facebook's priority to promote people leaving their site to go to your site to buy your widget, right? That doesn't make any business sense for them. It's also not adding value to their customer and their customer experience. So of course, they're not prioritizing that. And then the other educational part is about knowing these nuances. So every time you post a link on Facebook, you actually reduce your organic reach. So you are actively reducing who sees your post by doing that. And that's the thing that people can't get their heads into. It's like, don't try and sell, try and educate, as Ed said, try and entertain, try and have a conversation, have a discussion. And then if the audience is interested, that's when we can say, hey, great, you should visit our website. But think of the platform as a business. And I find that automatically makes your content better.
Yeah. And then I suppose this other point, you know, you can't show value to the business or struggling to show value to business. So I'd just come to you, Anna, then in terms of this point, what would you be recommending to brands, to clients, in terms of how do they demonstrate value of social to the wider business?
I think for me, it's getting by, and this is not easy. So I will apologise in advance, but I think it is about getting buy-in and that understanding of actually how organic can feed your other channels. So say, for example, you're running paid social ads, for example. Yeah, you will see a stronger direct return on investment, but actually if you haven't got a strong organic presence and visibility, the likelihood of your paid presence, your paid leads, you're going to see probably less of those, because actually the organic platform, that is the place where you can generate trust, you can showcase what you are about as a business, what your values are. And I think a great example of that would be like Aldi. I think they do a fantastic job. The hierarchy in that business very clearly can see that being really a real challenger brand, being really out there, in turn drives them sales. And I think it's really about understanding the marketing ecosystem as a whole. You can't kind of look at channels in silo. So that would be that would be the thing I would be really focusing on.
Ed.
So I just had one more thing to add to that. And I think the sort of key thing as a job as a marketer or social media marketer, it is your job to prove that there's value. Like I saw there's 8 votes there that you cannot show value to the business, but it's understanding like what's your tracking set up, how are you actually seeing where leads are coming from, and like what sort of catch nets have you got? So is the sales team actively asking like where you're seeing us, where have you come from? That's the way you sort of prove value. But that also has a side effect of your salespeople or your employees will then get more involved in the social because they're seeing some sort of value from it. So it's that spin, that flywheel of once you get people really understanding, right, this is actually doing it, people are actually seeing it and liking it, they will get involved.
And Joe, you got something to add there, I think.
Yeah, I kind of extending on each point actually. I also think, again, it's coming back to that kind of education piece of working with the wider team on what your KPIs are, because if you've got a metric in your mind of I measure success by engagement, great, and you're working towards that and you're building engagement, you've got all that activity, but then say senior leadership is looking for followers, then of course they're not going to see the value in what you've achieved because the metrics don't align. And if they're saying it's, let's say, I'm going to say senior leadership, say followers, because that's usually what I hear from people. And I'm like, it's not about followers. Then it's about working with them to explain why that's maybe perhaps not the best metric to be measured by and what is, or having that conversation, and maybe they veto you and you have to go for that, but then you can prioritize building a followership. So it's about making sure that everybody in the organization's aligned on what the key metrics are.
Okay, so to follow that point on, what key metrics would you be recommending to measure organic social performance on it? Because like we've touched about why you on social, so it's obviously really useful to know why we are. That once we've decided why we are, what metrics should we be using for that?
We tie straight into your what? So we tie straight into the why. So if you tell us that the reason you're on social media is to generate website clicks, then obviously click-through rate has to be in one of your key metrics. I would also argue with my client that that's going to be a really hard thing to achieve solely through organic, primarily because you're going to reduce your reach, et cetera, but we would include that because that's obviously part of their why. Largely for our clients, we look at engagement and we look at video views and also retention on video views. So it's all very well having a snazzy, we got 1 million views on this, but it transpires you got 1 million 3-second views and everything beyond just absolutely plummeted. So it's again about recognizing where the value lies and what's important to everybody in the organization, not just this looks good on my report. That's what I'm going to put.
Which is interesting because that's what I was going to, vanity metrics. Do you know what I mean? Likes and followers. And I think we've got a couple of examples I know of clients that we worked with over the years where that's what they thought they wanted, when actually we started to show the value of engagement metrics. Yeah. We started to show that it's almost like this turnover is vanity, profit sanity, cash is king. Your followers and your those people liking your page is like that turnover, that vanity metric compared to the engagement.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you think about it, if you're only reaching 3% of your followers, then the follower number really is almost irrelevant, because what you need is the engagement for it to extend beyond your followership and go to a wider audience. So engagement is always going to be a stronger metric for every business than follower number. If you told me tomorrow we need to have 1 million followers, I could say to you, yeah, we can get you that. I'll just pay some bot and you can have 1 million followers if you want. I don't advise anybody does that, by the way. That will get you penalized. But you get my point. Like, that's not if the metric is just to have that vanity number, we can achieve that quite easily. But it's the value in that, to me, is useless.
Yeah.
Anna? I think just to add on to that, I think coming back to if your objective is all around sales or leads, actually focusing more heavily on engagement, you're more likely to see a return and more people and more leads off the back of that than you are just reaching a wider audience or trying to increase your brand awareness. Because ultimately it's all well and good having, 1 million people see your post, but actually if those people are engaging, then they are far more likely to remember you. They could be seeing tons of posts in a day. So I think engagement for me would be one of my primary metrics I would be focusing on.
And we had a conversation in the office early in the week about those businesses, brands that are pushing, get in touch with us today, buy now, here's my link, etc. And we've talked about what that could effectively do to organic reach. But what do you say to those people that are running their social in that way? And I'd like,
I think for me, actually, that doesn't portray your business in the best light, because I think firstly, it can sometimes look a little bit desperate and like all you want is sales, but also it doesn't build that community. You're not providing that space for people to engage and ask questions and get loads of information and build that trust with you. All you're doing is basically telling them to go and buy, and it's like, and you use the analysis of going into a room and saying, can I go on a date with you? And it's like, hang on a second, got to get to know you first, need to have a conversation first. And I think that is a great way to put it.
At least buy them a drink first.
Yeah.
So Ed, there's another point on here in terms of biggest frustrations around social media taking so much time. And you talked earlier around actually it's not free. There is an investment in time, but also with one eye on your focus around AI and more businesses turn into AI to run organic social. What's your thought from that perspective?
I think as any marketer and pretty much anybody in business should be doing is looking at the tools at your hands that can help you do the job. I'm not saying AI is going to completely replace all copywriting and social media, but if it can help you, you'd be silly not to use it. So what I always recommend is basically getting your tone of voice document, getting all your basically your brand and your brand guide, and always call it a brand Bible, and put it into a ChatGPT, and then using that to sort of generate posts, but not just go and do 10 social media posts for me. Actually put the content in. I speak to my AI. I'm not sure if that's just me being weird, but I'll just talk to it around a post idea, and it will eat. And talking to an AI, it's so much easier than typing. I can spit out 200 to 500 words in a couple of minutes to AI, talking around my idea for a post, and talking around the tone of voice, the hook I want to use, the angle I want coming from, like a sort of a messaging piece, and it will pull out a post. So my answer basically is use AI, but don't be lazy with it.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure the human input is still massively in there, and please tell it to stop using M dashes.
That is a very good point. And I think just on that, what we see that works well with clients is when you've got your own, say, ChatGPT or Gemini, where you've put all of this information in. It's the same thing we've said for years, good data in is good data out. It's the same with AI. Put good information in terms of your brand, tone of voice, your guidelines, your core messaging, your core audience. But particularly when you're a business of scale, where there might be multiple people that want to contribute to organic social, or maybe it's in their email marketing, you can actually run it from that same AI, and actually there's a bit more consistency throughout the brand rather than very obviously completely different personnel and different tone of voice and messaging being used. Joe?
Just on the AI point, I think it's an amazing tool that we have at our fingertips now, and we'd be stupid not to utilize it. However, you can't underestimate the human input side, and I can spot an AI post a mile off, and it is such a turn off. Like literally the minute I see one, I'm like, you couldn't be bothered to write your post, I can't be bothered to read it, right? So I just scroll on by. A couple of things that are dead giveaways that AI's written it. As Ed said, those annoying dashes, the Americanisms, there's a lot of them go out. Nobody checks the spelling and asks it to write in UK English. And also all the emojis, using emojis as bullet points also is actually making your content incredibly inaccessible. If you've got screen readers using reading your social content, it's going to read out every emoji, and it's painful. There are 2 million people in the UK with a visual impairment using a screen reader. And if you've peppered in 30 emojis into that post, I can tell you they hate your brand. So just making sure again that it's aesthetically pleasing to your eye and that it sounds good as well.
And I think on that is, you talked about you can spot them a mile off if you've been lazy and effectively just let them write your content. The social media platforms are getting better at spotting them a mile off too, and they're changing their algorithms accordingly. You will have seen it on LinkedIn where you're getting served content 2-3 weeks old, because LinkedIn is putting more of a focus on the real authentic content and not the dribble that has just come straight out of AI. Ed? You're gonna have to unmute, mate.
Just one thing to add on to that as well is AI can't really do video well yet, or personal video. It can't be sat in front of me, and it can't put a camera in front of itself and just talk to a camera like we are now. And B, AI can't say, I did this, I did that, and that resulted in X. It doesn't have your actual experience, which is, I think, the important thing to come across, predominantly in video.
Well, that leads in quite nicely. So coming back to, most of our marketing campaigns have farmers or rural communities at the heart of it. And a nice little plug for our Marketing to Farmers report that's just come out in the last week. But within that survey that over 900 farmers filled in, we asked them what content do they value most when it comes to accessing information online. So I'm just launching the next poll now, so head down to the bottom right hand corner. What content do you think farmers value most? Is it practical tips and advice? Is it almost the behind the scenes and the authentic stories? Is it product information and updates, or is it videos and visuals? So just, you may have read the Marketing to Farmers report and it's sat by your bedside table at home, and you may have studied it and know the answer. You may just want a gut feel or what you think works for you. Just really interesting to see what you think farmers want when it comes to content and where they place the most value. So votes are coming in thick and fast. Okay, so the front runners are almost the behind the scenes and the authentic stories, followed by practical tips and advice, then videos and visuals, followed by that, and then smallest number in terms of product information and updates. So Ed, you know this data inside out. What do farmers want?
So predominantly it's case studies and demo areas, but the demo videos I'd really caveat with it's authentic demos. I think anyone who's done some work on a farm like me, you see all the manufacturers release these videos of a perfectly running forager with a nice organized team of tractors pulling in and out the forage to take back to the farm. If you've ever done a silage, it does not work that way at all. It's stressful, it's hectic. Same as if you're doing it, say if you're tedding or you're rowing up, you're bending a bar every now and then, you're hitting a fence. That's what authentic stories are. And that showing visuals of the perfect run, the perfect ploughed field, it's not going to resonate. But the ones where you have where the GPS has messed up a bit and put a kink in your road when you're ploughing, those are real and they happen every day, and that's what's relevant. Practical tips and advice, that they're really high up there, as well as a lot of farmers are on there to learn and help the business. But yeah, and product information updates tend to be actually quite toward the low end.
But in terms of that authentic content and the fact that, we talked about videos and visuals, that's really interesting. People are lazy, whether you're farmers or not. You want to get that information quickly, so you just click the play button. But combine that together, that's why we're seeing such a rise with influencers and farmer content creators. It's real. I know, Anna, from your perspective, the number of brands that you're working with now actually some form of partnership when it comes to an influencer.
Yeah, 100%. And I think influencers provide great reach. I think utilising collabs and sort of getting your content out to their audience is a really valuable way of getting in front of highly engaged people who are gonna want your product. I think the other thing with influencers is if an influencer is shouting about you as a brand, or even just mentioning you as a brand, it provides credibility on the whole, as long as people like the influencer. It provides great credibility. So whilst influencers can be expensive to work with, I think they actually do provide a huge amount of value from an organic point of view.
I think that's complete perfect point there. It's expensive compared to what? Compared to spending $2,500-3,000 on an ad in a publication, versus $2,500 to $3,000 with an influencer partnership that reaches a relevant audience that they trust and respect. what that return could give you.
Mhm.
Ed?
I'll just adding in that the objection I always seem to get when I speak to people around influencer marketing is, oh, everyone knows if you've paid to be there. And I said, well, you don't know our influencers, because if it's crap, they'll tell you it's crap. Like, whenever I say anyone doing influencer marketing, I'm saying it better be a good product, because they'll tell you if it doesn't work.
Mhm.
Yeah, Joe.
I was just saying, influencer, I think, is a really broad term as well. It doesn't have to necessarily. We actually work with a lot of micro influencers, and just like genuine people. That can be that's an influence. A farmer giving a true testimonial and experience of a product is just as valuable as a farmer with 1 million followers saying they love it. But like Ed said, people have a perception that they've kind of been paid to like this. Whereas, that isn't that John from round the corner? Oh, he likes it. Oh, right. So, I think it's about, you almost need to bookend it. You need people who are kind of more grassroots, shall we say, and then you need your kind of your big wig influencers. But I mean, this was prior to my time starting at Forage Tech, but they did a similar piece of research, and they found that farmers value farmer feedback. That was like the number one thing. If another farmer says it's good, they're much more willing to trust and try that product. And they did a massive piece with this a guy using Silosolve, and they filmed him all day, and they're getting all this good content. And at the end of it, he said, and at worst, I just store my beers in the pit, it's that cold. And that was it. That was the piece. They spent hours down there filming, asking really technical questions, putting all their kind of major sales points. And he went, I store my beers in the clump. And everyone was like, oh my God, we couldn't even predict that was a thing, and that was the major selling point for it.
Yeah, I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. In terms of the 5 years we've been doing this research, the one factor that comes out on every survey is farmers trust other farmers, whether the other side of the world, dairy farming in New Zealand, or the down the road. It's that farmers have that trust factor, and therefore, using testimonials, using case studies, using influencers, and integrating it into your marketing campaign comes across far better than sticking the sales manager in front of a camera to say how great their product is.
Mm-hmm.
Anna?
I think I was just to kind of follow on from Joe's point, I think the two go hand in hand. So I think influencers are fantastic to reach new audiences or people who maybe haven't heard of you, but I also would completely agree that utilizing farmers on the ground who are like massive advocates of your product, have used your product for years, actually also generate a huge amount of value and that credibility and trust. And that's something that with the dairy genetics company that we work with, that we've utilized that a lot through either video or even just like photos of dairy cattle that have been bred via this sires in this company. And actually, farmers are so nosy. They love to know what other farmers are doing. And we found, even if that's through video or just static posts, actually that's performed really strongly for them.
And I suppose, Joe, you get your hand up again, but I think what I'm really intrigued to understand is, how does this differ to other audiences that you work with?
That was weird, because that's all that's what I was going to say anyway. I was going to say, don't wonder. I mean, we said it earlier that, people buy into people. That's not just in the farming community. That is everyone. Let's face it, on a consumer level, if I'm going to buy anything, whether it be a face cream, a new car, a new food or drink, whatever, if I see a genuine looking person advocating that brand, I'm far more likely to purchase it, or at least even investigate whether it's a purchase I want to make. And it's a little thing. This doesn't have to cost the world. I think, again, a lot, I've given you the example there of us going on farm filming all day. That is a great expense. That takes time, money, and commitment. But equally, we've got posts where it's just a farmer stood looking at their cows, and next to them we've got a quote. And those can sometimes perform even better, because it's just a really easy, digestible, quick. I see that is a farmer. They look like me. They're talking about something I'm interested in. You've got it in a nutshell. You can kind of move on with your life. So don't underestimate the simplicity of a still as well. And just little things like, if your eyes are looking at the text, we naturally look to where eye line goes. So just by using someone's eye line, you can actually have a way more effective post. So if you had the farmer looking the opposite way and the text next to them, the audience is less likely to read that. So it's just, again, these tiny little nuances that can make such a big difference. But don't underestimate a face. A face is a very powerful thing.
I mean, effectively, that is the 1%. Looking into real detail as to what content's performing and what's not and why. I make so many references between marketing and farming, but I've got a dairy farm at home, and the way you can get profit into that business is focus on the 1%. What can we tweak, can we change in terms of our ration, in terms of our process of doing things to improve that efficiency and that profitability? And it's no different when it comes to marketing, and in particular social media marketing. So Ed, when we're looking at what content performs and what doesn't, where do we start? Where do we find that information?
I unmuted myself properly this time, so I call that a success. But yeah, I'd always just go into the actual native analytics of each platform. Facebook will Meta Business Dashboard have a really good analytics section now. Same as LinkedIn. X is pretty meh now, but not many people using that anyway. And that will give you a lot of really good insights. Like it'll literally break down post by post exactly how it's performed. And personally, I pull that all into an Excel sheet and have it set up to sort of flag which is doing well, which is not. And I know Joe said Joe said to us on earlier this week, and I completely agree. The most valuable 30 minutes of your time is going to be looking at those analytics. And I'm very much a sales guy, so if I find something that's working, I'm going to do that until I beat that dead horse until it stops working, basically. So I'm looking at this video is doing really well on impressions. Let's try and do that again. Or engagement's going to try and do that again. And me and Andy, we've seen this on our LinkedIn. We can do content sat in the office, and it'll get a 7% engagement rate. As soon as we do the same content sat in a car driving around, we go to a 12% engagement rate. So I hate to tell you how much we were aimlessly driving around at the minute just doing video content. But if that's what works, that's what works. And so it's really about figuring out what your levers are and then really gripping them and going, right, this is what's working. Let's go full steam ahead with it.
Anna?
Yeah, I think probably just to hammer home what you just said, Ed, but I think it's all about testing. Test as much as you possibly can, review all the data, and then do what's working. Like, it's so easy to just get in the day-to-day and just be like, I need to churn out posts, but actually you'd be better to do a little bit less, but do more of what's working, as opposed to saying, I need to have a post out every day.
Oh, I'm always yelling at people, less is more. Less is more. We actually had a preschool brand, 2 preschool brands, very, very similar, both animation, both at the same audience, both on Instagram, etc. And, we know from experience that generally for TV, video is best. You can't sell a TV show better than posting parts of the TV show. So we ran very similar campaigns on both accounts. And the weirdest thing happened. We had one brand where video exponentially did better than stills. And with the other brand, stills exponentially did better than video.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there scratching my head and going, I don't have the answer. I don't know why. The only thing I can think is the one where video did better didn't have any voices. The characters made noises. And the one with pictures, they did speak in English. So we had copy and things on the images sometimes. And that's the only thing that I can actually figure was different and made that difference. So don't assume that you know either, because you can be doing this a long time and you can think you understand an audience, and you maybe you are the audience, but actually you just have to try and test these things until you get that feedback and information. I also worked with a lady who makes bespoke wedding stationery, and she was writing these absolutely, whopping posts on Facebook, and her engagement was dropping off and stuff. And she said to me, how can I improve my posts? And I said, well, for a start, no one wants to read War and Peace. We're on social media. It's the equivalent of driving past a billboard at 60 miles an hour. I just can't read that. So I wrote what I would class as a textbook this is ace. It was about, I think it was about 150 characters. It asked a question, it provided a solution, a call to action, and a link. I was like, this is spot on. It tanked. And I mean, tanked. I think she got like 2 likes on the post. And I sat there and I thought about it for ages. I was like, this is textbook good. This should have done really well. And then I realized that actually it wasn't the length of post that was putting people off. It was the fact that she was using the same imagery and they weren't seeing new material. Because actually, if you're buying a really personal experience, like bespoke stationery for your wedding, you want to feel seen, you want to feel heard, you want to know that she knows you and she gets you. So actually, people were reading The War and Peace, and me writing, come by here, just wasn't good enough. So it's about knowing your audience, about spending some time with that, and it's about analyzing it. Yeah, like I said earlier, that 30 minutes a month is all it takes, but it's the best time you're going to spend because that's going to unpick what works for you.
And this is marketing principles at the end of the day. Understand your audience, understand their challenges, understand their pain points, and relate to them and provide a solution, something that's going to solve their problems, save some time, and then you get to stop them in the tracks. You know, it's a thumb-stopping moment we talk about within social media. We can give you the information in terms of what farmers, what rural audiences have told us they want when it comes to content, what platforms they're on, when they're on it. That effectively shortcuts the learning for you and allows you to put together a strategy. But every brand is different. You know, we talk about competition as well, and healthy competition is fantastic. But if you are spending all your time looking over the fence on what your competitors are doing and effectively copying them, don't be surprised when it doesn't work, because what works for them doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. And I think that is proof and point within this social media content. You know, spending that time, what is working for you? And then let's do more of it. Anna, you got me on the soapbox.
All I was going to say was I think it's really important to flag that these things don't happen overnight. So the testing, the learning is all part of that journey of getting a really strong social strategy and understanding what works for your business. But I think you have to expect that it's probably going to take 2 or 3 months to really start to understand those trends and then start to be able to capitalize on them. So I would just say, if you're wanting to see overnight results, you're probably not going to.
No, I think that's a really, really good point, because if we think about some of our organic clients, it took 12 to 18 months to get them to buy in and see the value and then renew and continue to increase their spend. You know, if they came to us, they want leads straight away, we would be looking at some form of performance marketing campaign to start building up that trust and showing the true return on investment. If they get the reasons why they should be investing in social, like you say, don't expect results tomorrow. You know, if you're starting to see them within 3 to 6 months, fantastic. But it's a long-term game, a little bit like when it comes to SEO. So when it comes to social, we've talked almost an hour about organic social. Paid social, we could do a series of webinars on it, and we probably will do at some point, particularly when it comes into the various channels that we use. But just before we wrap up, I'd like to just look at how the two work together. So there's a final poll that I'll just be putting out now, just to understand who's using paid ads. So is that you're producing an organic post and then you're boosting them? I wouldn't class that as paid, but it's good to know that whether you're actually investing in some form of advertising to get that post, that message out to a wider audience, or are you actually running targeted paid ads campaigns where you actually in the platform, you've created campaigns, you've got multiple ad sets, you're doing A/B testing and all the rest. So just nip into there and cast your votes, and we'll see what people are up to. So I think what's coming through, and I have seen a massive change in the last probably 18 months to 24 months. You know, clients are coming to us now that they're already investing in paid media. They just need to take it to the next level. Whereas 18, 24 months ago, they were not sure where to turn, what platform to be on, and should I even give them my credit card and spend some money with them. On here, we've got 14 votes. So majority of you there, organic, paid, organic, social, and paid campaigns together. Followed by a few of you doing organic with a bit of boosted, and then some just purely doing organic. So Anna, you run campaigns that but all of those just organic with boosted and some paid. When do we use boosted, and when should we consider paid?
I think boosted posts are really powerful if you're wanting to kind of cut above the organic. You're wanting to get more visibility on a particular post. I would say I would only be looking at boosting content if it's generally performing really well. So you would really want to, if you're putting money behind something that's got no engagement, you're flogging a dead horse. So don't bother. If you've got a post that's actually really flying from an organic perspective, then whack a bit of money behind it, because ultimately you'll then be able to hopefully reach a wider audience with that organic post. I think where you would want to be utilising paid is if you've got a specific goal in mind, such as leads. If you've got a particular product that you want to generate leads for, that is the perfect way to utilise paid, because actually with a paid campaign, you can be more sales focused. Okay, we have to appreciate we are on a social platform, but people, I think now have begun to they understand the difference between a paid ad versus an organic post. So if you're wanting to see a really strong direct return on investment, then looking at either lead gen campaigns or e-commerce sales campaigns would be the way to go.
Okay, just on that point, you said most people now understand the difference between an organic post and a paid post. Somebody's just posted a question here on the Q&A, so we are wrapping up in the next 5 minutes. If you've got any burning questions, please post them on there. But what is the difference between a boosted post and a paid post, Anna?
So the difference between a boosted post, essentially with a paid campaign, you will have far more audience capabilities. You can optimize your campaign towards a specific objective. For example, leads, sales. With a boosted post, you have some audience capabilities. So you can say, okay, I want to target dairy farmers, for example, but the capabilities of the targeting are far, far less. So that would kind of be the main differentiator. And then in terms of sort of optimization and what you're optimizing towards, on the whole, it's more around kind of reach and engagement with a boosted post, as opposed to like sales, for example.
Perfect. Joe?
I was just going to say, it's funny, I actually say to people, lazy boost gets lazy results. That's how I describe it. Equally, if you're only wanting to put £20 on something, that's the perfect place to do it, because the time and energy that's going to cost you in making a full ad and doing A/B split testing and all this stuff is going to cost you more than the £20. So ultimately, you've got to do a time cost analysis and decide, actually, is it better just to whack the 20 quid on? And as Anna said, oh my God, that was music to my ears. If the post is doing well, put money behind it. If it's not, you're flogging a dead horse. It drives me crazy. People go, it didn't work, so I put 20 quid on it. But if it didn't work organically with your hardcore fandom, then it isn't going to work by putting some money behind it. So for me, I think, a boosted post is basically when you're short of time and you're only putting a little bit of money on it. If you've got some time and investment, then you should be spending that time on the actual ads manager.
Perfect. And Ed, another question that's come in here. So given the different age groups tend to prefer different social media channels, how should we tailor our content strategy for the farming sector across platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and others?
Well, first off, I'm going to do a shameless plug here and go look at our Marketing Farms report. It's got a lot of information around that in there. But I would just say test. Use a bit of logic first. Think, right, if I'm an 18-year-old farmer and I'm using Snapchat to target to them, what would I want to be seeing that Or if I'm a more of a 45-year-old farmer on Facebook, what do I want to be seen on that platform? But then start with that logic, then keep testing that hypothesis, keep seeing, is that going to work? Is that working? How's that compared to other platforms? And then this is not going to be overnight, you're going to see this. So over a 6-month period, you then should have a good idea of what's working, what's not. And that's when you start to double down on that content pieces. And then you will see. So for example, not in the farming world, but in our agency world, we see that marketing content and information does really well on LinkedIn. We post that on Instagram and Facebook, doesn't go anywhere. But if we post stuff around our culture, like Andy brought his dog in the other day, and we post that on Instagram, or we post that we've gone to crazy golf on Facebook, those fly. We post the same on LinkedIn, doesn't do quite as well. So it's about that journey of really testing and refining, and that's not just for organic social. That's all marketing. So when you're sending emails, you should be doing A/B testing. When you're doing ads, you should be really split testing the ads. Even when it comes to doing sort of Farmers Guardian ads or events, you should be really testing, right, how's this event doing? How's that event doing? Or we've tried to do this little tactic of giving away a free cow toy at this event, or we're giving only free pens away, or we're giving biscuits away. Like, it's about really understanding what is working. But once you feel like you've got to the point of knowing that, don't stop, keep testing, because it will change down the line.
And we are coming right up to time, and there's loads of questions flooding in. So if you don't get a chance to ask them, we can pick them up after the webinar. In terms of just wrap up, I'm going to take two. So one coming to you, Joe. Is there a best practice for how to manage bad engagement on social? This is a challenge we get some senior stakeholders around the business, the risk involved from a brand reputation perspective.
So I'm assuming that means like negative comments, like someone saying this product's rubbish or whatever. Okay.
I understand, yeah.
So first of all, I'd say most of the time this is a scaremongering thing. Like a lot of people say to us, oh, but what if we get negative? And I say, well, are you getting a lot of negative? Is that happening to you? Is your feedback that you've got a rubbish product? Because if it is, that isn't a social media problem. Right? Sorry, but you need to look at that in a wider context. Also, this is an opportunity to convert somebody. It's an opportunity to educate them. It's an opportunity for your fans who are fans of the product to come on and engage with that person. So if it's someone just saying, I do this a lot with TV. People say to me, what if they don't like our show? And they say, this TV show is rubbish. And I'm trying really hard not to swear. I said, well, they're entitled to their opinion. That is absolutely fine. Hopefully enough of your fans will jump on and go, what are you talking about? I love this program, and they will do your advocating for you. Equally, if you've not got that infrastructure and someone's put something, take it offline. Just reply to them saying, I'm really sorry to hear you feel that way, and you've had that experience. Please DM us so we can talk to you about how we might be able to rectify this. It's just a customer service job, right? You just need to be there, you need to be present, and it's called social media. So put the work back in, talk back to them. And if people, when you're running an ad in a magazine, they're still bad-mouthing your product, you just don't know about it. This is your opportunity to actually have that response and have that conversation with them. And a customer that's had a bad experience that you convert into having a good experience is actually your biggest advocate.
Oh, said everything that I was going to say there, Joe. And I think last point, they'll talk about you anyway. So at least if they're talking about you to you, you were involved in the conversation and you can pick it up. Social media is you can say it's a bit risky, putting stuff out there, but you've got to take some risks in marketing. And if you want to build a brand and you want to grow, it should definitely be in your toolkit when you're thinking about putting your marketing strategy together. So we've now come to the end. There's quite a few questions around where we can get the Marketing to Farmers report and the data around the channels to use and content, etc. So in the follow-up email, you will get a link to that, so you can go ahead and download it. If there is any other questions that you have, feel free to email me or Ed or Anna. We're very simply Andy@hillsgreen.co.uk, Edward@hillsgreen.co.uk, and Anna@hillsgreen.co.uk. More than happy to take that offline. All that's left for me to say is thank you so much for joining. Panel, thanks for your expertise, advice, and having a good chat. And we will be in touch in the next month when we're launching our next webinar. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, guys.
Bye, guys. Bye.